bus with us. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Forrest.
And we are a newlywed couple that just started to travel the United States.
We personally only had about $8,000 to spend, on everything including the school bus. So we pretty much had to reclaim everything that we could find. So anything that my grandma had, my dad had old pallets. We literally had to just pick up every piece of wood, rip it apart, and use it to the best that we could. Even the little scrap pieces of the pallets that we cut, sometimes we had to find a little place for them too, because that's what we had to work with. As you see everything inside starting, in the doorway there, we've got a lot of pallet wood stairs, so everything kind of fills up pallet space. Anything when I was first building, when we were first making our cuts and sanding and staining for the first time ever, we felt like we wanted to use a material that we could find pretty much anywhere in case we had to redo it. So if Raisin will let us inside, we've got our guard dog here keeping post. We'll go ahead and take you on the tour coming on in.
Also, we have our 3 dogs with us. We have Raisin, who you already saw. We have Bane, and then our little one, Ezio. We're dog people. We couldn't leave them behind. So that was a very important thing in our build and deciding where things went, was that there was enough room for us to get around the dogs, which we still have trouble with. But even when we had thousands of square feet, they were still underneath our feet.
To start off the bus, right at the inside, we've got the skeleton head that I had found in Virginia. So we kind of collect little knickknacks along the way. So I got this deer head that was perfectly sun bleached, so stuck him in the corner there. I wanted to put him in the front of the bus, but she said no, so we found a good spot for him. We've got our wedding cake topper, because this is our honeymoon.
We just got married last October, right before Halloween, because we both love Halloween. So we had a costume reception. So he was Jack Skellington, and I was Sally, of course, and our whole friends and family went as different people, and this is just our honeymoon now.
So the accentuation of that was the best party ever. So we got our little wedding cake topper there, little skeleton brides. Obviously, man's got to have his drive in the hat. So I've got my pretty special hat that I wear to drive the bus, and not the trucker hat that my dad shop, but. So we've got that, and other than that, we've got a pretty sweet seat that her dad had got me for my birthday.
Just online, I searched, captain's chairs, trucker chairs. We just had it shipped down to Virginia from Pennsylvania, and it's worked out so far.
To drive the bus kind of feels like driving a 40-foot long 2x4, or if you skateboard and your trucks are too tight, it's just so bouncy. And sometimes if you hit the right bridge, it'll kind of get this flex to it, so it'll just kind of keep bouncing with it after you hit a good bump. So it's a little rough. I dumped the fridge for the second time today, so that's not too bad. In 4,800 miles, I've only dumped it twice.
It's because we filled it up too much, so we just can't fill it up to capacity. We have to leave some space in our fridge so it doesn't open up and crash all over. But luckily, because we're inside here and not pulling something behind us, if that happens, I just get up and quickly fix it, and he just keeps rolling and makes sure that he doesn't hit a giant pothole and send me flying somewhere.
So the gas mileage kind of really depends on what state we're in, because in Virginia we were only getting 8 miles to the gallon going over the mountains and the hills and stuff like that. Through all of Kansas, we almost got 13 miles per gallon in Kansas. Oklahoma was 12, and Colorado so far I think we're averaging 10. So it kind of varies in gas mileage depending on the hills and I guess the altitude. A little less oxygen, a little more fuel.
And we can only go 55 because it's governed at that. But to be honest, we wouldn't want to go any faster.
I want to see this
because
place.
It might, and it would throw our fridge open way more and throw stuff off.
True.
If we take corners too sharp.
Mm-hmm. But slow ride, take it easy, smell some roses. We've got the 7.3 International Turbo Diesel with the Allison transmission. I'm not exactly sure what the model transmission is, but we got big old V8 turbo. Seems like it does pretty solid. We bought it with 173,000 miles on it.
For the chalkboard in the front, we were going to make that into more storage, but that was the end of the build, and we were just like really tired of doing anything. And turns out we had enough storage in the end, but I was a teacher and I love artsy stuff, and decided to just put it as a chalkboard and write whatever we want. Right now it says home is where you park it, and I'm thinking putting in smaller lettering each state we go to. Like I'll put Texas up there and Colorado and Oklahoma. But for the conventions, I would erase it and then write the convention like welcome and our YouTube and Facebook information, because it was just right in the front and easy to find. And then the outdoor chalkboard just stays as that because the material is different, so the chalkboard doesn't work as much. It doesn't erase all the way. So that just stays the way it is. The main chalkboard part changes as we go.
Yeah, it was a trial and error, but I think we figured it out.
We were thinking it was going to take between 4 to 6 months, and it took exactly 6 months. But we had the time constraint of we had to be in San Antonio, Texas on June 4th for our solar sponsors, Mission Solar. So to be honest, if we didn't have that time constraint, it probably would have gone further because we wouldn't have been in such a rush at the end. And we still have little things here and there. We still have to put in some curtains and stuff, but the main build was done in 6 months.
So, and that definitely includes like all the heartaches of trying to deal with like plumbing and setting up the water tank and the water pump and obtaining a water tank. And we ended up getting it out of like an abandoned RV. So we were just heading to a friend's house and like on the side of the road, like literally just saw an abandoned RV. So being the redneck I am, I like ran up and just knocked on the door and I was like, "What you got going with that RV?" And apparently he's like knew my father forever, so said we looked a lot alike. And he wanted $50 for the tank, and I meant to give him the $50. I really did.
You just forgot.
He told me, like, I kept calling him, like, he didn't answer until, like, 3 days before, and it's like $50, and I was like, yeah, sure. But then I'm like rushing to go to Texas and moving into the school bus, and
we'll eventually head back to Virginia and give him the $50.
I'll give you back the $50
if he's watching this. We had a blueprint originally in the very beginning when we first got the bus. We took measurements, I laid out everything, and immediately something came up, because you can't see them right now, but where the seats were originally, it was 2 legs, and then it was connected to the side of the bus, so it has like a lip coming out. So either we would have to work around the lip or like saw that completely off, which would have taken forever. So we worked around that. Once that happened, when our original blueprint just fell through immediately, I was just like, okay, we'll take it step by step. We'll write out like little things. I mean, we had the basic where things were gonna go. We just took it one step at a time after that.
We had a few ideas that stuck with us, like for our shoe rack and everything. We wanted to have a space where we could put our shoes, even though I'm wearing my shoes in the bus right now. But that aside, we wanted a place where we could put our shoes when we walked in, maybe store like some miscellaneous things, computer stuff, because this is also our desk. So we've got our little hope chest that we reclaimed from the Habitat for Humanity.
And we put pallet boards that we stained on top to make it. It can be our coffee table. It can be my seat to work on my computer to edit videos. It can be our storage, obviously, or it could be like an ottoman where you just kick up your feet when you're sitting on the couch. All of our towels and linens and stuff are in there, and some of our board games. And I mostly use it as storage and my seat for working on my desk, because with our 3 dogs, they steal the couch. We don't get to sit on the couch as much as we would think we do, but that's what you get when you travel with 3 dogs.
And you love them dogs. Mm-hmm. So another big thing for us was like my grandmother has like a barn full of this wormy oak. So we asked if we could have some, and she said, yeah, we could. So we went ahead and kind of went bananas with that too. So we definitely wanted to have like a big showpiece of that oak, because it's just so cool knowing that this 150 years ago was a barn, that 60 years ago my grandparents had ripped that barn down and stored it in their barn, and you know, now we have it in our home. So I just think that's super sick. So we ran it through the planer one time to kind of plane into the patina but still have some function to it. So some of the boards, being so old, had warped a little bit more than others, so they got more character in some spots than others. And I mean, I got a piece with like for our backsplash there with like all the good little wormholes, and it actually still had some bark left on it. So I thought that was pretty raw and gnarly. So we stuck with that. So putting it together, I mean, definitely was a rough process because like it was one of the earlier cuts of good wood that I was trying to do. I mean, you can still see I've got my like marker line at the end where I messed up. I just tried to find like 3 of the pieces that would fit the tightest together without leaving too big of gaps, because I didn't really know how to, you know, cut perfectly flat pieces. So we stuck with the bowed. So it's like all original rough cut on the outside. So I just kind of found the 3 that fit the best and ran with that.
And then we just fastened it with hardware underneath here to our cabinets and to our shoe storage to kind of keep it up. The shoe storage is also drilled on the side to keep that stable as well. And we wanted to go with a long counter space because me and Forrest love to cook and we want a lot of prep room so that, you know, one of us can be prepping onions while the other one is cooking on the stove and not being completely each other's way, and enough space to also have my computer or anything else we want to work on a table. Our top cabinet space is also made out of the old barnwood, and with the curvature of a bus, that was a big thing because, you know, regular cabinetry, we would have to have like sawed it into the shape of the bus, and I didn't feel like doing that, and I wanted it to be more open so it didn't feel like as much of an enclosed space. So we pretty much just, behind this is our wiring, and we just covered that and kind of went out in an L shape and just, you know, had some metal that we fastened onto the roof to keep it secure while we were going. And surprisingly, most people asked us how our stuff stays in our cabinetry. The only thing I have is this bungee cord for this one area, but other than that, everything else actually stays in place.
Except for this cup in particular. I toss that one like once every 2 or 3 days. I'll toss that guy out, and she's like, "It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine."
But I mean, luckily the glassware, like, I mean, we mostly have plastic stuff, but we had our wedding recently, and people gave us glassware, and we didn't want to let that go to waste, surprisingly. Like, I thought we were gonna have to, with it being open like this, I thought we'd have to have a million bungee cords going through. I mean, we still have a bungee cord, and we have more bungee cords holding other stuff down in our bus, like our TV.
Yeah.
But besides that, everything stays pretty good.
But we do take it pretty slow and smooth, and we definitely like try not to speed around turns. Like I said, I've only dumped the fridge twice. All of our dishes kind of go up here. We've got a little space down here for like some big pots and pans and stuff like that.
Our
Crock pot. Brother from another mother gave me one of these, and then she ended up buying the other one at Habitat for like $40 or something.
Yeah, so they're different cabinetry. Yeah. I just sanded it down and just painted it with this teal color because I wanted to give it like a little splash of color in here instead of all the browns and grays. We pretty much got the stovetop from Craigslist, and everyone loves that we have a full range stove. We went and got the orifices from online from the actual GE who makes the oven, and they said 7 to 10 business days. I was like, well, it better be because we're about to leave, and they didn't ship it out until 7 to 10 business days. So his parents still have it and are waiting for us to actually stay in one
place
location for them to send it out to us.
But I'll tell you what, when I do cook on that, it's going to be legendary.
Yeah, but right now we just use crock pot. We have our grill, so we grill outside, or he has a little skillet,
like a hot plate.
hot plate.
I think I ruined that the other day.
Just edit that out, though. They don't need to know that.
of the way. I would say it's definitely like we really do like love to cook, and I really enjoy cooking out more, just staying at home local, so I can just kind of relax and not have to worry about driving back or going through traffic or anything like that.
And it's hard to find a place to park a bus
at a restaurant. There's certainly no fast food. There's no drive-through option.
Yeah.
So like just for sheer planning and just for sheer like comfort for us and the dogs, might as well just grill out. Except for now we're like in the middle of a super fire drought, so no chance of grilling.
All right, with the floor, because my husband's 6 foot and we didn't have enough time to do a roof raise or the capabilities, we just went with the height of the original bus. So we had to plan to not take up too much with our subflooring. So including insulation. So we, instead of going with wood or tile or something as our flooring, not only the weight would be a problem, but adding those inches to take away from his headroom, we went with just like a vinyl that just clicks into place, and it's very durable. The only problem is when we move, the floor moves, so some of the panels that are clicked in come kind of out of place, so we have to realign them. But we're fine with it, and the gray is the best because we've had things fallen onto our floor and have dented or scraped it, but you can't really notice unless you get like really close.
Get in there, yeah.
And with dogs, it hides the dog hair well. I mean, we do sweep like all the time anyway, but at least, you know, if we don't feel like sweeping, it won't be as noticeable as if it was like white.
I guess the other thing to talk about is we do actually have 2 different electric circuits running it. We did all the lighting that's on right now. I ran off the 12-volt system off the school bus because it had like the little dome lights. So I even just left the same button up there so we can flick that to get that light going. But we've also got like on the solar, we've got these little guys, lanterns. Just kind of like little lanterns, which that is one thing I would have done different on this one. Is
I've hit my head already 4 times on there, and actually kind of bled a little bit.
Like I cut myself on that thing a lot.
So headroom is very important. Just think where you're gonna fall when you build something. So where is your head gonna be when you sit down on your couch? Where is your head gonna be when you lay down in bed or come up from laying down in bed? You just gotta think. And we didn't think about that. We were like, oh, this is just gonna look pretty right there. Instead of thinking, oh, well, my head hit that when I sit on the couch.
Is it a jagged square? So that, we might end up replacing that at least with something round at some point. But since we're just now getting into it, like that's not one of our super big priorities because there's still a few other things we gotta to work on first before jumping in and changing lamps. But they do look super sick, so pretty happy with that still one way or the other. I guess moving down this side with the sink, we actually picked up the sink from Habitat for Humanity as well. That was like $10. So, and we got a super big sink, so even if we run out of water, you know, maybe we can go an extra day or 2 without having to wash a dish before our life is cluttered and, you know, they're starting to spill everywhere. But normally we stay on top of the dishes and try to knock them out every day because what else are we really doing?
And then with our fridge, we went with a 3/4 fridge. Right now it's sitting on top of our wheel well that we just pallet boarded over and plywooded over. And we went with the 3/4 fridge because my husband loves to eat and he eats a lot, and we really didn't want to have to go every single day to a grocery store, especially if we're in the middle of nowhere and we want to kind of just go off grid and not worry about food. And it's just a normal 120-volt fridge that we got from Walmart that was dented, so they gave it to us for cheaper. So it was only like about $100.
Yeah.
And it fits all of our stuff perfectly most of the time. until we fill it too much, then it opens. But that's only happened twice.
It is an energy star, but we have, like, I don't know what it draws. Like, as soon as we got the box, like, we were so excited to, like, fill the space. Like, I mean, we just started, like, putting things in here. So we actually saw what we had as, like, work room. Because after our original blueprint got messed up, like, we kind of just put things where we want them. Like, we just stuck a shower pan in a floor and, like, kind of built around that to try to see how much room we would have. So then it was kind of rudimentary, like stuck the water tank on the floor and then built the box around it. So definitely was kind of rough. But yeah, so we just got so excited to fill the space that I threw the box away that said what the draw was.
But we have 1,800 watts with 4 deep cycle batteries, and we haven't even come close to touching all of our solar. Like, we may get as low as 75% capacity.
Like by the end of the night, running fridge and fans.
Yeah, and charging our electronics and working on my computer. And we haven't even come close to worrying, even though we went like 3 or 4 days with rain, and it still didn't have to worry about it. Thank goodness.
All right, so I'm probably gonna have to move some dogs so I can kind of show you what we got going here for our couch. It is our couch. It is also our water tank storage for our fresh water. Like I said, under our couch is our fresh water tank. I've kind of just like got that stuck in there, so that way if we had anybody really heavy kind of set in the middle, it wouldn't want to collapse the edges of our plywood there that she used to do the top. But still, it can be pulled out in case I do ever have to pull out the tank, which would be a nightmare. But like I said, 55 gallons, and we just kind of got our pump here, kind of a little switch here to turn it on and off. But we've got 1/2-inch PEX ran all the way through. So if you don't have a PEX crimper, it would be cheaper to hire a plumber than to buy that crimper. I'll put it that way. Just keep in mind, if you don't have the crimper available, I would recommend actually probably find somebody that has one, or just hire the professional, because it's going to cost you less than the cost of that tool, apparently. We got, like I said, this is a 12-volt pump, because I was kind of misunderstanding at first how the solar was going to work. I ran a 12-volt system, but I ended up working that into the school bus's 12-volt system. And the first time I did it, I definitely caught the bus on fire with this one, silly enough, but just with my switch, did some dumb stuff, whatever. So that was one of the times when I kind of wanted to let it burn for a second, but then it's like, no, don't do that.
With 55 gallons, with both of us taking a shower every day, it lasts about a week and a half. We can make it last. And to be honest, it's worked out fine for us, because to fill up, we literally just go to like gas stations, see if they have a hookup, because we just filled up our 55-gallon tank at the Pilot gas station. Yeah, they had a little pump thing, and we just had a hose that we plugged into it and filled it up on the outside, and took a couple minutes. It's not like we plan on going off the grid for more than a week and a half anyway, so we'll probably not have to add anymore. I don't think so.
The way that I got the water to come in is like pretty crude, but I think that people might appreciate something like that. So to plumb the water into the tank, I wasn't exactly sure how to do it, and when I first like stuffed the tank up trying to get as like much space as possible with the couch and everything, so we could have like room for our wood stove, and more importantly, its firebox, I was running into problems getting the hose in there, so I just kind of like stuffed that 90-degree bend in there and put a whole bunch of hose clamps on it, and so far it seems to be working pretty solid. So, and I also put the little vent tube there so that way it could breathe when I'm trying to fill it up, instead of just like always trying to like backsplash or anything weird like that. So far it's doing good. I know a lot of people like strap theirs down. Built the box around it. We didn't really strap anything down there because we literally like built it tight. So hoping that it'll hold. So this is our little wood stove area. We plan to just kind of plumb that out through the window there on a 90-degree angle.
Once it gets cooler and we actually need it, but since it's summer, it's just storage right now.
So with the metal though for this, that was another one of the sponsorships with Metal Buildings Incorporated. Old Metal Man came through and he hooked us up with the metal for that.
Just copper penny.
Copper penny. So
over the
fireboard stuff.
Fireboards.
So that's that's completely fireboard blocked in, so hopefully it'll be actually fireproof. That, and the metal itself is like an hour firewall.
It's a 2-hour firewall.
2-hour firewall. So between both of those, hopefully it'll hold pretty well there. What we'll probably end up doing after we get it out is maybe have like a little hook or a little hatch or something that'll drop down on the outside to like hold the pipes in place. But for now, it's just storage.
And obviously we won't have it out when we go. This will be just when we're parked somewhere and we need to warm up. But over our fireplace, we have a painting that was given to Forrest for his birthday from a friend in Virginia that we just hung up, because it's kind of hard to have artwork and stuff in a moving vehicle. So we had to strap it down there nice and tight. And it's over on this side so that when that pipe does go through, it's not burning up the painting.
Yeah, because the pipe will come like right here, so I don't want it to get too close to the painting. That was like the main thing I was concerned about, getting really too hot over there. So hopefully that'll still work out, but we'll definitely monitor it really close the first few real burns. So with the bathroom, like, we did a composting toilet basically with a separator there. We found it to be a little bit easier though. Instead of trying to make dirt, considering we have 3 dogs, we just put a trash bag in there because we pick up after 3 dogs a day. So to us, that just seemed a bit easier, more convenient than like carrying it around with us, because like we said, we love to cook. I love to eat. I'm a skinny dude. Sorry. But so we just got a little composting toilet. Super sweet, simple little box. Pretty easy to get to. Probably not the smoothest job I've ever seen. I could probably like grind some edges, smooth some of that down, but that was one of the earlier things that I ever put a saw to. So not too shabby that. And in the shower, we've got the waterproof board, and then it's got this coating. I can't remember what the stuff was called, but like a waterproof coating, and then the metal coat. So it kind of, hopefully it'll be sealed pretty good. And then we've just got the shower pan. Other than that, everything else is pretty well hand built there. And for the walls, for the like actual like toilet part, we've got finished plywood walls, and then just some of the like
just lacquered, clear coated it,
and just put some of the pallet trim around that to kind of accent it and make it not look, you know, not look just like pallet board walls. So I just use the toilet, the number 2, in case of emergencies, but we're always on the road. Well, not always, but a lot of times we're on the road, so I just go in the gas stations or anywhere else that I can find. But other than that, it's quick, easy, and it's very secure. When you have the door closed, I mean, you're kind of in there because there's no windows. So I mean, it would have been nice to have a window, but at the same time, then we have to make sure that no one can see through the window when we're in there. Or a vent, because like in Texas and Oklahoma,
it was hot.
Was so humid. Like sitting in there was like a hot box. So it was like your own personal little sauna for a minute, but then when you get out and you take like that fresh breath of air, it was like.
But I mean, usually we're in the middle of nowhere and no one's around us, so I usually have that open. I only have it closed when we have neighbors.
Right.
Or anyone that could peer in. So I did this door setup. I knew I wanted a barn door because with limited space, we can't have any door swinging open and out, and you can't have anything swinging inward. So I looked up for hardware just for the barn door, and that was expensive just for the hardware. So pretty much all I did was I Googled DIY barn door, and a few options came up, and I kind of took bits and pieces from each one. So pretty much this is only, you know, piping for plumbing, and you got a 90-degree elbow, and we cut the pallet boards around it so it fit more flush to the wall, because if we put it on the pallet boards themselves, it would have came out too far where you could like see kind of in on the side. And then we have a track on the bottom as well so that it didn't fly out when we were moving, and we have a latch here to close it when we are moving so it doesn't slide back and forth. And I knew I wanted a mirror, but I had no clue where to put a mirror in this limited space. So pretty much I just adhered a full-length mirror that I just got from Home Depot. I adhered the mirror on this with the liquid nails adhesive you get at Home Depot or Lowe's or that, and it's like any other adhesive. It comes in like that tube that you have the gun with, and I just made sure I got it nice and stuck on there so that we didn't have 7 years of bad luck when the mirror shattered. The whole outside of our bathroom area is all pallet boards that we've gotten from his father's shop, because he has a metal shop and it just comes on pallet boards, and Forrest would rip them up. I would sand them down and lacquer them, and then we kind of puzzle pieced them on there. We kind of cheated and just cut some of them to size, but we tried to fit them as nicely as possible, and we just clear coated it. None of our wood is stained except for the pallet boards on our chest. Other than that, and this door is stained, but other than that, all the other wood is not stained. It's just clear coated.
So same with like the cabinets with our closet. We really wanted to have like an open space there, like no extra doors to be swinging and flying open. So my grandma's barn, she also had some old crates that some old milk crates that she had in there. One of them happened to have some apples in it, like old, apple farms. So it's like all wormed out to match the other wood. So we thought that was cool. So we had to use, or we wanted to use that. So that was a big thing, is like try to reclaim as much stuff as we can, make it as authentic as possible. You know what I mean?
We wanted to go with that rustic feel. So with the boards, we just sanded them and again clear coated them to keep them as original as possible, but we had to really clean them out because they've been sitting in a barn for years and years, so they were kind of dirty, and we didn't want to put our clean clothes in dirty baskets.
So that was definitely a thing for us. And like I said, above our closet as well as our pantry and our fridge, or below, is the wheel wells. So we didn't really know how to work with the rounded area there, so we just kind of built up a little platform to try to give us a flat spot to work with. So we kind of used that for the height of the fridge and everything, and the height of our pantry versus the height of our closet there. So we kind of had to use everything that we were given to work with the school bus as a build.
And this is literally the only thing that stayed the same from the original blueprints was what was going over the wheel wells.
Right.
We knew we wanted our closet and our fridge and our kitchen cabinetry.
Can you kind of talk how this kitchen works for you? Do you guys share this space right here?
So yeah, this is both of our closets. I got one half, she's got the other half. I got one bin, she's got the other bin. Now we do have extra storage above the bed.
Above our bed is more clothes. But other than that, that's all our clothes. Before we moved in here, we minimalized as much as we could. I literally got rid of 3 garbage bags full of clothes I gave to the Goodwill, and a bag of shoes. So we really tried to go with as little amount of clothes as we could, and we still have our winter clothes in the back in our little garage area. So once winter comes around, we'll just swap out and put all of our summer clothes where our winter clothes were, and then just swap them back out.
That was a big thing for us to use that space. The other thing is with 3 dogs, we had to figure out a place for them to sleep. We didn't really want dogs on the bed, and our little black dog Ezio, he loves to go under the bed. So given that tendency, we figured we would go ahead and give them a space under the bed, so that way they always knew where we were.
Right under here.
So we made the height to where our old lady dog wouldn't have to duck to get in. So that was crucial, because as she gets older, I don't want her have to duck down and hurt herself trying to get in or out of bed, or not even be able to get into bed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's low enough for when he sits up in bed, he's not bonking his head on the roof every single time. So he has enough room for him to sit comfortably on the bed, and for our tallest dog to comfortably get underneath the bed.
So that was kind of tricky to work that middle space between how tall and everything had to be. So, but we made it work out, and for air ventilation for the dog bed, so we can still lock them in, and if we go out, still blow fans and stuff on them and make sure they don't get hot. We just use the chicken wire fencing for, a grate to kind of keep them in and allow us to, put the fans on cycle and let them get some air down there if we do have to step out.
But we try to take our dogs wherever we can, but there's always going to be places, sadly, that we can't. And it's kind of hard with 3 dogs to take them everywhere anyway. So with the storage for our food, we went with shelves here, and then that was more of our bathroom stuff and my video games, because I love video games. But with that, my only complaint is, which isn't a complaint for him, is he loves his spices. And to be honest, I think we can, because there's spices up in here and then there's spices above the sink.
I moved all those. They're all here now.
Well, I still think we don't need all the spices that we have in there, because there's unique spices that we only would use once in a while.
Compromises made. You don't need that many shoes either.
Oh, damn. Okay. But with the dry storage, to be honest, we mostly get stuff that goes in the fridge.
Yeah.
And anything that's in dry storage, like he loves his cereal. So we'll get a bunch of cereal, but we'll put only one cereal box in there and then put the other cereal boxes in the back. And then once we're done with one cereal box, we'll just pull that out and put it in there. So it's mostly been working for what we want for now. I mean, we do have to stack some things up on other things.
I'll probably add a shelf in there.
Yeah, maybe add a shelf. This is our most basic thing in the box, because this was his first ever attempt at carpentry. So there's still we need to sand that off.
It's authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say self-taught or self-abused to the point where you made something happen. But both of us never really had any, woodworking, maybe a class back in high school or middle school, where you made a soapbox car. But other than that, definitely nothing.
YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is your friend.
YouTube is your friend.
I YouTube stuff and then showed him it, and we try to figure it out from there. I mean, sometimes there wouldn't be a specific video for what we wanted on YouTube. So when we were doing YouTube, that's kind of why we did it, so that hopefully if someone ran into the same problem we had, they could be like, oh, they did it. Yeah. Oh, they did it bad, so I won't be doing that. Because we kept it where he'd be like, oh, well, I messed up on this. I guess I gotta
learn from our mistakes.
Learn from our mistakes.
And everybody else's. Watch YouTube.
You can learn from their mistakes, or you can learn from their mastery.
So the bed, we went with a queen size bed because I flail, toss and turn, and we wanted to get a really comfortable one. So we got the purple, so we didn't have to have a box board or box spring underneath, because then I wouldn't be able to set up in bed. So we really had to design, that was one key aspect to make the bed even work with the dog storage, was the fact that we didn't have to have a box spring. So that was something we really had to kind of plan around with our bed build. But it's really hard to make the bed. So
he has to make the bed because he has long enough arms. If I try to make the bed, I have to get on the bed, and then I'm trying to jump up while also flinging my arms over. And
the secret is you have to hulk the edges up and then flop it down on it and then hope that it's tight after that. So you learn the tricks of the trade. And like we said, we've got our overhead storage, 2 cabinets. We each get 1 cabinet for t-shirts and shorts and stuff like that, pants or whatever. So there is more closet space than just that. But then right behind the bed, we've got our little partition door, so we can either open it up and get a breeze going through, or if we're at a truck stop and there's trucks behind us, we can close it up and have our privacy. So we really enjoy that. We did leave 2 windows at the head of the bed so we could try to get a little cross breeze and to kind of gauge what time of the day it actually was. So if we were oversleeping or anything that.
We have just branches on the side here that kind of gives you the feel when you're in the bed that you're up in a tree house, which I enjoyed. And then I have shoe storage here, which I also use as a step for me to get up in the bed because I'm short. He can just hop in the bed. I have to step on there and then get up in the bed. And then we have our TV just bungeed on there because I didn't know that there was only certain TVs that you can mount, and this was not one of them. So that's how we mounted it. And then I have my PlayStation because I like video games, and just in case it's raining or
we want to watch a movie.
That's what we do.
All right, so right now I'm actually chilling in our garage, just to kind of show like our partition door, so that way if we want, we can open up the school bus, get a good breeze going. I guess I've locked myself in, so I can't open it up yet, but kind of slide these doors. Like I said, it's a little rudimentary, but seals it up pretty nice. So keep that open, get some air flowing here in just a second. But have a little shelf here too for if we are watching TV, we can actually set some drinks and stuff here. So I don't know what's the best way to see that, but we do have a little bit extra space there. And like I said, we've got some overhead storage. I'll show you my side. So, and it does go all the way up to the curb of the bus there, because how do you terminate that, and why would you? You got space. So to keep the doors from closing, we got the big heavy, like almost 2 inches of reclaimed lumber there. So it gives it that nice, super rustic look. And so far it's so heavy it hasn't even opened, but we need to find a way to like hook it to the ceiling, because when she's putting her clothes in, she has to hold that up for 5-10 minutes, and that can be kind of cumbersome. So that's one thing we'll definitely add to, is some clips there for her to hold that up. Well, now that we've done the inside of the bus, guys, why don't we go ahead and head on outside? So if somebody wants to let me out of the back here, and we'll take the tour. So with the back of the bus, obviously we've still got some of our solar sponsor vinyls going there, as well as our own Insta, YouTube, fun stuff like that. But we've got our backup camera as well that she picked up, and it's like wireless. So it was kind of fun learning how to get that one wired in. So basically we just wired it directly into the reverse light. I did mess up the other day and I pulled that wire out with my bicycle because it's kind of an exposed wire at this point. So I just redid that. But originally that antenna was on top of the bus. But coming through Virginia, we hit some trees and some low clearance, and it definitely relocated it. Thank God it's a magnet, and that's just where it decided to stick. So. And
it's been working there, so why move it?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But other than that, it's basically our garage back here. So, and our dog food storage. So. We've also got our solar bank and everything. We keep our garden hose here so we can fill up quick if we do get to, a pump, a water pump or anything. Keep all the dog food, dog bowls, all of our fishing gear, chainsaw, winter clothes. We do keep our laundry hamper back here, just that way when you get up in the morning, whatever, open it up, throw them in the hamper. So we've also got other stuff up under the bed, so a whole half of up under the bed is still more storage. We put our lawn chairs and bicycle parts and tools, miscellaneous things. That's our garage stuff, extra paint, whatever. The idea behind the garage in the back, I mean, we YouTubed 100 other people's builds and had seen that as a pretty good idea. And being a mechanic and, trying to be a handyman, I needed to have my tools, especially to try to make money on the road. So I figured a garage was best, and we could kind of separate, the living situation from, just a bulk storage, to kind of not have to have everything stored everywhere, winter stuff. So it just seemed like the best idea for us. That, and with the solar bank, just to kind of have like a little bit of a separation wall between all the noise that goes on with like the inverter and charge protector and stuff like that. So that kind of helped. We only have a 1,000-watt inverter, and that's definitely one thing that I think will definitely end up changing out in the future, because we make way more power than we can even use. And several times I've popped the inverter every time I try to use the hot plate, trying to test it. So at certain times I wish we had went bigger, but with our budget, that's like really all that we could get. That was pretty much one thing we would change there. But for right now, our battery bank is 4 deep cycle 12-volt batteries ran in series parallel, so we're putting out 24 volts. So that seems to power, you know, everything throughout the day and the night pretty solid. And with as much solar on the roof as we have and as little power as we can actually use at a time because of our inverter, no matter how much power we use at night, by noon, we're already back to floating. So we're, you know, not even using any power essentially. But basically, I've got a really rudimentary system so that way we could still plug into shore power. So I've put all of the outlets, I wired them to here. So that way that's wired to this extension cord, which feeds into the hot side of the inverter. So that way all I have to do if I want to go to shore power is I just unhook that plug and then I connect to this plug-in on the outside of the school bus, which I'll show you here in just a second. And that way that plug-in back feeds all of my outlets with power, and my solar is still charging my batteries without touching the battery bank. So I'm not using any of that power. I can just store up it. So if I do drain them down, whatever, you know, I can back feed and store it up. But so far we've never had to plug up because, like I said, we're making more power than we can use. With the solar panel itself, we've got them set up in 2 different circuits, and we've got 900 watts on one and we've got 900 watts on the other. So each one of my fuses here is a separate set of panels, so that way if I do have like a problem, I can hopefully kind of troubleshoot it by cutting one, checking my output, cutting the other, checking the output. So kind of separate the 2 sets of systems, so that way hopefully I can find out, you know, what's going on. Then I've just got the inverter and then the batteries lined in on 80 amp and 100 amps. So the solar panels are only 15, so hopefully that'll handle if we do go up to a bigger inverter. The outlet I was telling you about here is put into the little kind of watertight box, so hopefully it'll never like, you know, get water into it. I guess I had put the GFI in here at first, and I was blowing the GFI in my inverter before I had realized that I didn't need to hook it up that way. So I should actually probably put a GFI plug out here, but I ended up putting the standard house plug because it wouldn't work in the first way that I tried. So this is another thing I would change, or I probably will end up changing, but the box is staying no matter what because that's a hole that I cut and sealed to the bus. And so that's kind of a permanent fixture, but it works, but it could be a little bit more protected. So then we move around not too far to the little storage boxes here. This is just where I keep like the charcoal, the grill head, starter fluid, hatchet, you know, the fun stuff, a little shovel to dig a little fire pit, whatever we got to work with to try to make starting the fire and food happen. But so since our propane isn't hooked up at the moment, we've been grilling out a lot. Obviously we won't be doing it here, but like I said, that's mainly how we've been cooking, or like on the hot plate or the crock pot has been working pretty well for us. But we've been doing fine without it so far. I mean, we'll probably get the stove hooked up in like a few weeks, so no worries there. But a little further up, we've got just a storage bin, which actually I guess is locked, but there's just firewood in there. So in case we had to make another fire, that's all that's in that bin is just firewood. The sweet propane. Now, my dad had some like spare metal laying around his house or his shop. So I just kind of took the 90-degree angle and bent it and cut it in like a half, or like cut one of the lips out, and then I bend it and I screwed it together there to like hold up our propane, which isn't mounted in yet. It can be, or plumbed. It's all plumbed up, but I haven't hooked it up yet, just because, like I said, we don't have the orifices for the stove. But to lock my tanks in place, I had grinded this pole to death to where it would fit up underneath, like in between that metal and them holes. So that way kind of wedge it to where you wouldn't, you know, be able to shake it. But I won't ride with it until I put, you know, some actual protection covers on the outside of the box, because with it being open, I just don't feel too safe with it. So I'd only put it in there when parked, but I use the floor from the school bus, like the actual rubber flooring, to protect the bottom of it a little bit and keep it from shaking too much if I did ever want to travel with it. But we'll test that out later down the road.
We wanted to kind of keep it homey on the outside, but it's kind of hard when you move around all the time. So we had to bring our Florida Key West crab trap balls. So what these are is we found them in the Florida Keys. They're crab trap balls. So when they sink, they know there's crabs in there. And they are all over up up in the mangroves, and we canoed up in there, pulled them out. So these are all from different crab trap balls, and we put them on their string. I painted them different colors, and if you ever go to the Florida Keys, you'll see a lot of homes have this hanging in the front. So we kind of wanted to bring Florida with us on the go, and that's how we decided to do it. So for our outside here, this is how we get into how we fill up our 55-gallon water tank. We have just the gravity fed, which is just putting a hose in there, and then we have the city fed, which we haven't used yet. So we mostly just been using the hose and filling up at wherever we can. We ask around, and most people, if you ask them, hey, can we fill up our water, most businesses will be, they have no problem with it.
So the placement of the thing actually turned out to be really accidental. Like from the inside of the bus with the measurements I had taken, I thought it was going to be in between these two lines. So when I was cutting through that part with just the like cutting wheel, as soon as it hit that black metal part of the bus, so that first strip cutting across was like smooth like butter, then like coming down that side, as soon as it hit that like black metal, I wasn't ready for it. It like jumped back and I cut my finger like really solid. So watch out for that if you're doing this. But now that it's done, the fact that it like lined up with the black line, I think is pretty awesome. Had a little bit of a problem getting it to seal up at first, so we had to like really put some like silicone around it and kind of mash it down on there and smooth out the rest of it, because didn't really want it to leak again. The first one wasn't too fun.
Yeah, when you cut a hole in your bus, you just got to make sure that it's sealed. Sealed.
So just in case we do park somewhere for a little while, just to be able to get out of the sun, we've always got a guaranteed shady spot under the bus. We've got a little hammock that we kind of just hang up there with eye hooks. So if we do need to get out of the sun for a little bit, we've got a little spot for the perfect siesta. So that was a must-have, you know, coming with the bus life, is a little spot to just kind of get away to yourself, especially when you're all tight and clustered with everything. And sometimes having a little bit of space away is nice, even though you're not that far. It kind of gives you your own little spot.
We got our sponsor here on the side of our bus, as you can see from the vinyl, for Mission Solar. They supplied our 1800 watt solar panels that are on top of our bus, and the inverter, we got a 1000 inverter and a 4 battery bank in the back of our bus that pretty much charges and runs everything in our bus except for our propane stove.
So with Mission Solar, it was awesome that they actually like responded back, because we ended up having to send like 10,000 emails to different companies for all sorts of different things. We got like 4 responses back. Like we would get responses from one company. Mission Solar actually responded like, you know, one response was a no, but I would email like all of the people, and then later down the line I got a yes. So I was like, okay.
Yep.
So but that took like 6 months of emails before anybody said anything.
But all we had to do for our sponsor is put their stuff on the side of the bus and to go to 2 conventions. We already went to one solar convention in San Antonio already, and the next one is in California in September.